Hey, how are ya?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. We're back.
We are. What are we?
Welcome to the
Eight.
Unexplained Archives.
Yes.
What episode are we on now?
I
This
think it's
is eight?
yeah. So
Eight.
8 weeks.
Wow.
I know.
I can't believe it.
It's
It's
happening.
been so fun. It's
I
gone
know
by
it
so
has been
fast.
so fun. Yeah. It's been a
Yeah,
really good time.
I know. So how was your week? I feel like it's been a bit.
I know. I know. It's been I don't know. It's like spring break for us
Okay.
here. I don't know if I've talked about it much, but I actually homeschool my son. He does like an online program. And so he when he is on spring break, I mean he's here all the time. Like there is no break. Like so this week being spring break and having online school, he's actually with his dad this week. So he's doing his own thing and I had all these huge plans of what I was going to do and I don't think I got a thing officially done. Like I feel like other things like started happening and it got me, I don't know. So we're here and it's end of vacation and it's back to business here soon. So
Yeah, it's so easy for those empty time spaces to just get filled with whatever,
oh my
you
God.
know? It's just,
You think you have so much time. I'm just like, oh,
yeah,
a week. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do this and do that. And I don't, before you knew it, like it was all just kinds of little things just happening. And now I don't know. I mean, they'll get done eventually. I'm not going to get too down on myself about it.
no. Sometimes you
but
just gotta fly by the seat of your pants, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So
you do. Yeah. I mean, listen, the housework will get done eventually,
that's
right?
right.
So,
That's right.
yeah, all these
That's right.
projects will get done. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm terrible about getting a project started. Like I cleaned out my closet. My closet looks great,
Good.
but
Yep.
I have this like pile of clothes that I was gonna hang
Yes.
up in the
Yes.
closet, and it's been there for like 5 days now,
Yes.
just overflowing, and I
Yeah.
keep digging through it, and it's bad.
Yeah. I
I'm
get
bad
that.
about follow through.
I am as well. I really am. I actually bought this book. It was like house cleaning if you have ADHD.
Oh, okay.
I have not been officially diagnosed with ADHD. I am diagnosing myself as having ADHD. I'm telling you, I've got all the symptoms.
Yeah.
I start and I never finish and I'm easily distracted. And so I thought I'm gonna try this book out. It gives you stuff to do every day. You just little check it out. I'm good with lists.
Ah,
They're little lists and you just check them off. So I feel like if I do this, maybe I'll feel a little more accomplished.
you're
I don't
gonna
know.
have to send me that book because
Yeah.
I do have ADHD. I have
Okay.
been diagnosed, and
Okay.
you can if you walk into my house, you'd be like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
Yeah.
dirty, but there's just all
Yeah.
these little things I've
I know.
started that I just
I
haven't
know.
finished. So,
I
yeah,
know. That's
that's the way it
that's how,
is.
yeah, one of the things, my big thing was like all the light bulbs died at once. I swear, in
Oh,
every room, like light bulbs just started dying. I'm not gonna blame it on the paranormal. I think it's just time. They all started
right.
going at once.
Yeah. You put them in at once, so they're going to die at
They all
once.
died
Yeah.
at once. Yes. And so the problem is like everything is really high. Like everything, like the living room, like when we moved in, I'm like, oh, look at the beautiful vaulted ceilings. Isn't this amazing? And then I was like, shit, the light went out. Now how am I supposed to get up there and change
Oh,
the
yeah.
light bulb?
You're going to have to get one of those long
Yes.
light bulb
Yeah.
unscrewer things.
That's exactly what so I ordered it. It should be here tomorrow. And so
Oh,
yeah, and so I got the little thing so I can stretch it and do it. And then
yeah.
I realized like the ceiling, there's a lot of fans. And I
Mm.
didn't realize they all take special ceiling fan bulbs. So I
Oh,
had to order special ceiling fan bulbs. I don't know. This is way more than it should be.
houses are tough to keep
They
up with.
are. Oh,
There's so
homeownership
much.
is not as cool as everyone thinks it
Right. Right. There's things I miss about it, and there's things I'm happy that I'm not a homeowner at this time.
Yes.
Someone else can take care of it.
That's the
So,
thing. Like I miss the days. Like, I mean, I had apartments in my late teens, early 20s, and if
uh-huh.
something went wrong, you call the office and they
Yeah.
send maintenance down and then they just
Yeah.
do it and it's it's a beautiful thing. And
It
now
is.
when you have like, you know, your washing machine hose comes out and your basement starts raining, you got to fix it. You got to figure it out yourself. And then the
Yep.
plumber is a ton of money.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I
So,
know.
yeah,
A lot. It's a
that's
lot.
a lot of my excitement this week. So I really didn't even get to change a lot of the light bulbs because I either cannot reach them or they take special bulbs that I didn't realize they did. So
Ah.
we're here in the darkness.
Uh-oh. That's okay. So, did you have any woo-woo moments or anything crazy happen this week?
Yes. So on this past weekend, I my friend Mandy had asked if I wanted to come. There was a class. There's a store that we have been to before. You know, they've got a lot of metaphysical things, and they like Friday nights they do different types of like mediumship classes and things like that. And I had actually gone to one of those before. It's a lot of fun. Like people just come in and they do different, I don't know if you like, I don't want to say games necessarily, but they're almost like things to kind of like really
Like
hone in.
activities?
Yeah, like to really
Okay.
hone in on like mediumship skills. And so she had found one there that was for past life regression. And
Ooh.
honestly, like I just was like, yeah, let's do it. Like I'm just open to it. Let's give it a try. And I wasn't sure if it was something we were going to get there and like talk about. But when I got there, I realized no, like they were putting the group like under and we were going to try and see if we could get anything from our past lives. So this is the first time I've ever tried anything like this. When I found out what they were doing, I thought, I don't know. I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to see anything. Because I have tried hypnotism once and I was not able to really go under. But I think that's me. I think I'm kind of a control freak in a lot of ways. Like I hate the idea of losing control of my body. So to me, I think I kind of fought it a little bit. But when I got there, I was like, just relax, listen to what she has to say, like, because I really kind of wanted to like see something. And boy, did I see some things. So
Ooh.
yeah. So the woman who did this, she had taught the medium class that I went to before. And she kind of talked about how we really weren't, it wasn't going to be necessarily like hypnosis we were going to be under. It was more of like a, you know, really like subconscious type level we were going to be at. And she was going to like kind of talk us down. And there was a few of us there. I don't know. There was, I don't, maybe 8 people there.
Okay.
And she kind of just did like this countdown. But here's the thing that was really interesting. Like right as we got started, I got this instant sense of like, you could feel, I'm going to say energy coming into the, like, it literally like came in and just like what felt to me like hovered. And later after we kind of woke up from this, the woman that was across from me, she said, boy, as soon as we started this, I could feel like something come right in and like be there with us. So I was like, oh, validation. Like, I'm like, me too. I was like, it's hard to describe other than maybe feeling like an energy coming in. Like my instinct was, I'm like, oh, we're not alone. That was the first thing I thought is we're not alone. Something has come in and not scary. I wasn't
Mm.
scared. Like, okay, something's happening. So yeah, sure enough, she kind of like counts you down and then she starts to talk about, think back to, this, see if you can see a particular life and, notice the details of, where you are. And she would just kind of talk us through. And then she would kind of say, go to the time where this life ended. And what are you seeing and what's happening? And then she would kind of shut it down, that down. And then we would go into another one. It was a lot of like, you're in a hallway, you're going upstairs. There's many doors, pick a door you want to go into type thing. So I will tell you, and everyone listening, take this as you will. But these are a few of the things that I saw. So the first one to me is by far my most interesting. I was a man, and I knew this. And she said you could see your life happening. You could feel it like it's your point of view. You could watch it like it's a movie. Sometimes it comes through for people. And she said sometimes it's just a feeling. You just feel it. You don't necessarily see it. You just suddenly, it's a knowing. So I wasn't sure what I was going to pick up. But in this particular scene, I was in the body of a man. And I was kind of noticing his clothing. It looked very 70s style clothing. I was in a bar. I actually looked across, like I'd walked up to a bar and I looked across and I could see a mirror. So I could actually see myself. So I know that I kind of had like this, which makes sense because I have very curly hair. I had a man fro going, like a 70s little fro going. So I was like, oh, that makes sense. I've got the curly hair. And I remember actually looking over to my left and there was like a smaller blonde woman next to me. And I kept thinking like I should talk to her.
Oh.
So that was kind of interesting. I had a knowing, I knew my name was Bill. I just knew it. And at some point I leave this bar, and there were so many people, it was really crowded, but everyone was kind of like 70s style clothing, which was interesting to me. I was born in 1979. So, I have a feeling if this is real, this had to have been just my very last life. And I wasn't very old. I had to have been, I think, early 30s. That was my guess. But I walked out to the parking lot and suddenly I see like almost like purple and pink lights coming down on me.
What?
Yeah, bear with me, everyone. This is just as bizarre for me as what I'm about to tell you all. It's really wild. And I was frozen, completely frozen in these lights. And then those lights kind of changed into more of like a white light. And I could actually feel my body being pulled upwards. And then I started getting visions of of like alien, like your classic gray alien, big eyes, the whole
Wow.
coming into my mind. And the one thing the woman said that was kind of putting us under, she said, you are only going to see what your body and brain can handle. If there's certain things it's just not ready to see or be a part of, it's going to shut down. You won't see it. So as I'm kind of getting beamed up, if you will, and I know where I'm headed, but it's like in that moment, everything froze. It's as if I didn't want to see the rest of what I was being led into, but I knew that I was being abducted by aliens. This is so bizarre, even as I'm saying it. And here we are. We're doing a show on this stuff, and I'm a believer, but to see this whole thing play out in your mind is crazy wild. So yeah, that's how I knew, but I had this feeling that I didn't come back from that, and which would kind of make sense just because, I mean, being born in 79, I don't think this was much before that, and if that was a past life. Right. So I remember I was discussing this with my friend Mandy, who was there, and she was like, right, but they're nice. They're not going to do anything to you. And I was, the aliens are nice. I'm like, well, I don't.
But you don't know because maybe your mind shut off, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think something happened to poor Bill up there. I really do, when he was getting beamed up. So
Billifer.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was really something. So something that I also found kind of interesting to that, looking back at all these things that I saw. So I have always loved the name William. I've always really liked it. In fact, if Gabby would have been a boy, she was going to be William.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so my son Hayden's middle name is William. And it is a family name, but it's always a name that I really, really liked. So like looking back now, I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I really liked that name because I was William before? Yeah. And so that kind of, And then I remembered Hayden telling me something a couple of years ago, out of the blue, this kid. So Hayden, God love him, he says some creepy stuff sometimes. Out of the mouth of babes. He says some like out of like you're not expecting it, some stuff. And him and I one night were just watching TV and he starts telling me about how aliens take him sometimes. He's like, they take me in their ship. And I'm like, I'm going
What?
along with this. Yeah, I'm going along with this. I said, okay. I said, where do they take you out from? Like, how do you get to their ship? And she goes, he's like, I go through your bedroom window. They take me, they pull me out through your bedroom window. And I said, he goes, it's at night when I'm asleep. They'll come get me. And then I said, well, where am I during this whole time? He goes, oh, you come with me sometimes. They take you sometimes too.
Ooh.
Right. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So,
Huh.
yeah. So in that whole conversation I had with him, like kind of came back to me. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
How recent was that? Like with him telling you?
I would say probably 2 years ago. So he would have been
Okay.
about 7,
Wow.
maybe 7-ish.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's one
Yeah.
of those things, like, I am super careful about what we talk about in front of him, what we let him
Yeah.
watch, just because
Right.
he's a very sensitive kid.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I don't want him to feel afraid or be afraid. So I don't listen to that, because I've got my podcasts I listen to, TV shows that I'm clearly watching, but I
Yeah.
always make sure I'm doing it while he is not around. So for him, I'm like, I didn't even know he knew what an alien was, or
Or yeah, to be taken
yeah, to be
by an
taken.
alien. Yeah. That's
So
really interesting. Man, the mind is so fascinating too.
it,
Like what's
yeah,
locked in there, in our
yeah,
subconscious. I'm
yeah,
taking a course to be able to do hypnotherapy.
yes,
But like you, I've tried to be hypnotized a couple times and
yeah,
it never really worked for me. I
yeah,
could get in a deep relaxed state, but
sure,
it
yes,
never really took in. And so I'm kind of in your shoes. I'm wondering if I tried something like that.
yeah,
I had a couple questions.
yeah,
So is everybody doing this at once? So all 8 people
yeah. We're
in a
all,
group. It's a
mhm,
group setting.
yeah, yeah.
Um, how alert did you feel like you were during this? Do you feel like you were completely under, or do you feel like you were aware of your surroundings? Like, I'm just curious of
Yeah.
how all this worked.
Yeah. It's an interesting feeling because I'm alert. I feel alert. I feel like I know where I'm at, but I felt heavy. Like I felt like I can't move. Like I felt like I couldn't move my arms. Like at one point I remember my nose being itchy, and I was like, I really have to itch my nose. And I was like, I don't think I can move my arms. Like I remember trying to like lift them up and I'm like, I can't. Like they were physically felt too heavy. And so I had to just sit there with a very itchy nose. At one
Wow.
point, yeah. So
Okay. So you were
yeah,
pretty far under then, if you,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think I wanted to. I think that's a lot of it. If you are, because I think the time that I tried before, as much as I thought I wanted to do it, I was really nervous. Like I said, losing control of my body or something. But this time I really was like, it's going to be okay. Just relax and go with it. Just go with it. So yeah, I think that was the biggest feeling. And a lot of people I talked to afterwards, said they kind of had that feeling too.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the major one. I mean, I won't take too much time. On the others, I think the others weren't as, detailed maybe. I did have a scene where I know I was an Asian girl.
Huh.
I was like at a school and the hallways were blue, like the lockers were blue. I could actually hear people talking in a language I didn't understand.
Hmm.
And but that seemed to be really fast. That was just kind of like one scene that played out, And that was kind of the end of that. I don't know what happened to that girl, but it
Right.
seemed also very recent. Like that was the
Okay,
other
I
thing.
was about to ask, did
Yeah.
it seem like, what was the time
Yeah.
frame
The
for that
time
one?
seemed like current. And so
Huh.
that was one thing she told us as we kind of got started, was that we could we could see things maybe not only from our past, but also from a parallel life.
Parallel. Yeah.
hmm Which blew my mind. I was like, I'm
Yes.
not sure if I'm ready to concept all that yet. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And then she said even possibly future
Huh.
lives. It's possible you can go there. So part of me almost felt like the Asian girl was a parallel life, almost because it looked very modern to me.
Okay.
And I wasn't there for very long. And I was very much in her body, like walking, and like I feel like my friends were around. I feel like everyone was kind of like in a uniform. That was
Hmm.
interesting. There was one where this is another thing. I'm like, oh, it's out there. But I did see myself in space, meaning I was human. It wasn't an alien ship. It was almost more like thinking like more like Star Trek ship. Like we lived there. We lived here on this ship. We stayed here. We used the ship to travel. And there was this huge window and I could look out and I could see the stars. We were in space and I just kept staring out and looking into this. In my mind, as this is happening, I thought, oh, wow, this could be something super futuristic. But I did Mandy and I shared on the ride home. And as I'm telling her this, she says, there are some theories that maybe even before all this, maybe in time, we actually started in space. So she says, it's certainly a possibility, if you go with that theory, that was a past life, that we were in space, and that was something that you
Hmm.
but there
I
wasn't
was
much.
thinking future when
Yes,
you said it.
totally.
That's where my mind went.
That's
Yeah.
exactly where my mind went, is that at some point, are we, in some type of spacecrafts that can get us to different places. But yeah, I mean, I could see it clearly. Like I knew where I was, and it was hard because me, I'm super afraid of heights, and I don't like to fly, let alone the thought of being in space scares me half to death.
Yes.
So I remember kind of like as I'm seeing this image, like kind of telling myself, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Like, it's gonna be okay.
Yes.
Because I thought, oh, my feet are not on the ground. My feet are not on the ground. I like being on
Ugh.
earth. Like I was
Yeah.
like, don't panic. Just go with it and see what you see. So yeah, so that was a particular life, and that was just kind of like images and images of the inside of whatever aircraft we were in. I mean, it was, things were like really lit up. I mean, it's hard because I wish I could just go back and like find more and like,
Uh-huh.
figure this out. It was just so interesting. And then the last one I will share, I actually saw my current life. So I was in my current life and I actually saw me passing away in this current life.
Ooh.
So yeah. And I'll tell you, because I did, Jamie, you and I discussed this before. Mandy and I talked about it in the car. I came right home. I'm telling Gabby about it, and Gabby's like, don't tell me, I don't want to hear. Everyone got super emotional about it, and I remember
Yeah.
even being in this, the state I was in, getting emotional about it, but not like sadness for myself. So here's what I envisioned. So I was in what felt like a bedroom, laying in my bed, and I was old. I mean, I'm talking like 80, 90 years old.
Okay.
And my kids were there. They were next to me. I mean, Hayden was an adult and they were both like next to me. And I got very emotional about it because in that moment, I'm going to try not to get emotional about it
I
now.
know. I'm getting emotional too as you're
Yeah,
saying it.
but the reason I got emotional is because I could feel the love. And I think not even just from my children in that moment, but from probably from like where I was about to go. There was just so much love in the room that I have to tell everyone out there, I wasn't sad or scared or it was oddly joyous. And I know that sounds so strange, but in that moment, I felt like everything is okay. Like, this is okay. And I felt like, looking back, I thought, what a beautiful life I've lived. I've got, my children are right here with me as I'm passing. And I did actually, like, I could see myself leaving my body and just kind of going upwards. And it wasn't sad or scary. It was, but it was just, I was overwhelmed with emotion just because of the amount of love I felt in that room. And so I'm telling Gabby, and she's like, it's not going to happen because you're never going to die. Like,
Yeah, never. Not even when you're
yeah,
150.
right.
No.
And I said, it's okay. I'm like, I've got a lot of life left. I've got a lot of life to live. And maybe that kind of made me feel good too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if that's how you go, there's probably no other better way, than just being there. Now, I don't know if I was sick or if it was just old age, or, I mean, clearly, if my children were there, they probably knew, like, it was time. I don't know. But, I'm not going to worry about it too much. I just thought in that moment, I was like, everything's going to be okay. Like, this is all okay. So, yeah,
That
that
seems
was,
positive. It seems like a positive experience. I mean, it did a couple things. I mean, it should be reassuring that you've got a big, long life to
sure.
live,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that you'll be surrounded by love and that it's not necessarily a sad, scary thing.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So it felt, I was kind of happy about
yeah.
it. And as weird as that sounds,
Aw,
it was kind of a happy moment.
yeah.
Our listeners, take my experience however you want to. I mean, who knows?
Right.
Maybe it was just my brain just
Yeah.
toying with stuff. I don't know. I
Right.
don't know. Who
But
knows?
still, either way, whether you are seeing, past lives or future lives or,
Yeah.
whatever, it's so fascinating to me that that's where your mind went either way.
Yeah.
It's so, I am so fascinated by the human mind.
Yeah.
Um, the subconscious and just all the images and the things that are hidden in there under the surface, it's amazing. So whether you were seeing, that or not, or
Right.
maybe, just the Bill, the William, maybe that was
Yeah.
in your mind because you
Sure.
have an affinity for that name. Like, who
Yeah.
knows
Right.
what it
Who knows?
was?
Yeah.
But maybe it was, you
But
just don't
it
know.
was.
There's just so many mysteries that
Mhm.
it's exciting to explore.
Yeah,
So
it's really interesting. And, when we kind of came back and we came to, I mean, there was a room full of us just like sitting there, like, what did we just see? Like, what just
wow. I
happened?
love that. So
Yeah.
did you guys share your experiences with each other while you were there, or is this
Yeah.
something that was kind of private or
Yeah. Some of us did.
okay.
Some did. We didn't have to. She said if we want to. I mean, it literally took us, I don't know. It was a little bit before we all kind of like came back to reality a little bit, because it is a little mind blowing, and you are definitely under a state of something. Like I said, no
Right.
matter what anyone whatever it was that I may have seen, we were definitely under something, to the point where, like I said, I didn't really feel like I could move. So when
Yeah.
you wake up from something like that, you're kind of looking around like, what is going on? And so it took everyone a minute to kind of come to. Now, a couple of people there had done this before. So they've had experience doing it. So they almost kind of like knew what to expect a little bit.
Huh.
So I know those people shared almost right away. Later talking with my friend Mandy, like, she had an experience of maybe like long, long ago being in Egypt. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, and she saw herself. There was something that she had to write down. She said, I almost saw it like on a tablet, old tablet style. She said, I was getting all this information. I had to write it down, but other people didn't want me to have this information. So she got caught doing it, and they actually stoned her to death.
What?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. So she experienced that.
I
And
think
she
your
was
way of going was a lot better.
right. Right.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, so she had that, and there was another woman there who had a feeling of being during, long ago in Egypt, which was interesting. Um, some were like, there was a man there who actually saw he was there with he had a wife and a child at the time, during his experience. Um, yeah, so one woman had more of an experience seeing someone she would consider her twin flame. And she saw being with him in a previous life, someone who she's just now started to date, and she recognized him in a
huh.
previous, life. So that
Wow.
was interesting. Yeah, everyone had a little something different. I didn't share too much. I didn't go into Bill or the aliens because for some reason here I was like, they're gonna think I'm weird, but I'm just like, it's like talking about it on here. Listen, if you're here and you're listening to us, if you're there in a psychic shop getting past life regression, the chances of you being judged are slim to none, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't
And
worry.
same, if you're tuning into this podcast, I'm
Right.
sure you have an open mind,
Your mind is
you know?
open, I think.
Right.
Yes, right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So,
no judgment. No
yeah,
judgment.
this is the Planet Fitness of podcasts. It is a
That's
judgment-free
right.
zone, right? Yeah. So yeah, but at the time I was like, I don't know if I want to share this or not. But I did say something about that I, especially like being in the Asian culture, I did say something about being at the school and doing that. But that's about I think the only one I no yeah I think that's all I shared. And then then we got in the car and like spilled it on the way home. So yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was my Sunday night.
That's cool. I mean, I think it would take me a little bit to process what I just experienced before I could even verbalize it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's the thing.
Um, it
That's
sounds like
exactly
a
what happened.
lot.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how long was this session? Like, how long were you like in this state?
So I think we were in for about an hour,
Oh,
at
okay. That's
least. At least, yeah,
wow. Did
yeah.
it
Like
seem like an hour or
no,
did it seem to go by fast?
it seemed to go by fast. Like I was shocked when we were awake and I got in the car and I saw the time. I was like, whoa, it was yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it was yeah, it was the time flew by for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
can you tell me a little bit about the woman that ran the class?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So I apologize. I can't think of her last name. She's Dr. Kimberly. That's how
Okay.
I know her. So yeah, she like I said, she teaches mediumship classes there. So she has practices that, and I know I'm almost positive like you can go and she can do work with you and do psychic readings and things like that. But she like I said, she can also do, hypnotism and things like this. But yeah, she's great. Oh, and I think she also teaches Reiki.
Okay.
Yeah, so they can learn Reiki at the class, the classes they have there. So yeah, just she's super nice, really understanding, and it was easy to like her voice was so calming. Like I was able to
Nice.
go right out, like I
That
was
helps.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah.
I want to try it. I want to try it.
Yes.
So I should
Yeah.
I should be visiting that area soon. So maybe
Good.
I can
Yeah.
give it a go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be cool. They said
I'm
like
scared. It terrifies me.
oh
And it's
oh
for
yeah
the control reason. Like I
yeah
don't like to lose control of my mind or body. Like that's
yep
just I don't
yep
know. That scares me so much. So,
yeah
and when you're talking about space and all that, like I'm also scared of heights.
mm-hmm
I'm terrified of the ocean, like the deep sea,
yep
like
same
terrified of
yep
falling in and not
yep
knowing what's under me. It just feels
yep
so helpless. And the
yep
third thing and the biggest thing is being lost in space. Like
yep
I have had nightmares of floating off into
yep
space and it's terrifying to me. So
yep
yeah. So it
yeah
scares me a little bit, but I'm
yes
still willing to give it a shot. So
yeah. And I have to say like stuff like that didn't even occur to me when being
right.
never crossed my mind that I would be
Yeah.
in
And
space or abducted by
Yeah.
aliens. Like these are things that
Right.
never crossed. I thought I was going to be, oh, and that is something else I saw too. I was like, oh, I thought I was going to see myself on some battlefield. And I kind of did. I forgot. That's the one thing I forgot. But I think
Okay.
it was actually, I saw myself and I was looking at myself as a nurse, actually,
Oh,
during what I think, looking at what I was wearing, I would probably say around World War One,
okay.
which is also interesting to me because when you think about World War One, and then you got Bill in the 70s, like I don't think really the lives were very long. You know,
Mm,
I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like
right. Yeah.
she looked like a fairly young woman, and I did
Right.
see battlefields, as if she was out there helping people. But I thought, you know, gosh, that's not a lot of time at all in between these people. So I'm glad that this life I'm making it a bit longer
Yeah, that's what I
than,
was just thinking. And
yeah.
another thing too is I feel like it might help if you're seeing these things and you're not scared of being in space and you're not afraid of dying, you know, of seeing yourself die and all of that. It's almost therapeutic for some of your phobias and some of the things that
Yes.
you fear to be
Yes.
able to be in that space without that fear, you
Yeah,
know?
I think so too. And I think that that's one of the reasons I wanted to try this. My goal was to figure out, and maybe help some of the things that might be happening to me in my current
Right.
life and
Right.
understanding them a little bit more.
Hmm.
I will tell you, Dr. Kimberly does one-on-one, and and you can do a full past life regression with her, and she does 4-hour sessions.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
four
That's
hours.
like unheard of.
That's what I thought too. I was like, wow, I don't know if I can hold it like that for four
Yeah.
hours. Like but will the time feel like it's passing like crazy, like it did with me?
Mm.
So, and then, she did talk about being able to go into it, things more detailed. Because that was the one question when she said, go into this with the intention of what do you want to know? What do you want to find out? And
Okay.
my intention was exactly what we were just talking about, which is, you know, what happened in the past that maybe I've brought into this life that maybe I
Hmm.
fix or understand more of why I do what I do.
Right.
So everyone kind of came out of it, she was like, did everyone kind of accomplish their goal? And I immediately said, no. I was like, no.
Mm.
And she said, oh. And then she explained, well, maybe if you went deeper. The reason why I don't think I got that is because once I got in, I was so blown away by what I was seeing that I wasn't stopping to see if I recognized anybody else that was around me, or
Right.
was trying to come up with a deeper meaning of things. However, I mean, the Bill alien story, I mean, part of me is kind of like, maybe that does make some sense of things that are going on. Like I said, like, the liking of the name William, and,
Yeah.
maybe doing what we're doing now. I mean, our first episode was on UFOs because it has
Exactly.
always been a
Yeah.
fascinating story for
I mean, you're
me.
drawn to these things, you know?
And that
So,
hit me. I just thought that maybe this is part of it. Maybe I'm trying to figure out, what happened in a sense,
right.
in that particular lifetime. Yeah, so maybe I did. And that's one thing she said. She said, give it a few days. She said, you probably are all going to go home and have very vivid dreams,
Uh-huh.
and things will start coming to you. And they really did. Like, I think over a couple days, like, I was like, oh, wow, some of this makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know that I think I would kind of like to try a longer session and maybe
Yeah.
go a little bit deeper and
Right.
find out more.
Mm.
Yeah, I
I
know.
hope you do because I want to hear more.
Yeah. Well, we'll
Yeah.
go. You come to Michigan. We'll
Okay.
make some appointments.
All
We'll go
right.
see. We'll go see Dr. Kimberly.
I
And
love it.
yeah,
I'm in.
yeah,
I'm in.
yeah,
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing
yeah.
that. I find that all of that super fascinating. One thing I could share a few things that I've experienced because I think my gift is it has to do with dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've had a lot of very vivid traveling. I feel like I've
Oh yeah.
traveled and like seen things happening, and I don't know if it's that it seemed, some of them seem like it was in the past, like I traveled to the past. Once I witnessed, I mean, some of it's very heavy though. It's like I would wake up crying. Like
Yeah.
there was a boy, and I felt like I was being called to this boy in my dream.
Okay.
And it was in the woods. It was like nothing I recognized. But then there was a man, and he was in overalls, and he was trying to abduct this boy. And I got the feeling that he was going to, like, rape him or molest him. And I was like terrified. And so like I was there to like intervene. Like I arrived on the scene just in time, kind of thing.
Yes.
And I've had a lot. I mean, I felt myself floating there. I don't know how to explain it. Like I felt myself travel to this, and it seems so real to me. I've also traveled and seen the same person. It was a man. I can picture that he had blue eyes, and he always carried an umbrella, like a black umbrella. He was in a suit. And it was like he would always be trying to tell me something, but I would get scared. There was something about him that frightened me, and so I would try to hide from this person.
Wow.
Yeah, and this happened repeatedly, like all these dreams. But I don't know if they're dreams or if it's I'm traveling to an alternate reality, or if it's a past or a future, or parallel universe. I don't know what it is, but it's different. And I could almost always tell when I was going to have these kind of dreams, because I could feel it when I was going to sleep. Like I would feel a little tingly, like a little floaty. You know what I mean? Like I would be like, ooh, I wonder if I'm going to travel.
Oh my gosh.
My dreams tonight.
Something.
The biggest thing that happened to me was so at my wedding to Ben, his family came in from Massachusetts, and his grandpa was there, his grandma was there. Pepe is what they called him.
I love
that. Pepe.
Yep.
He actually had a heart attack at our reception.
Oh my heaven.
And was rushed to the hospital, a little small hospital in Arkansas. This was during our reception. And he ended up having to stay. They brought him back. He like died on the way, but they were able to resuscitate him. And we just had a weekend. So literally Ben was in the military, and he took a 4-day weekend so that we could get married and do a little excursion. Of course, all that, got put on hold because of his grandpa. But we went back to Fort Polk, which is where he was stationed. And his grandfather was still in the hospital, and he was in ICU and all of that. But we were sleeping, and Ben said that he looked over and my hands were floating, like I was sleeping, but my hands were floating. And during that time, I saw his grandfather, and he looked great. He looked healthy. He was had this nice glow about him. And he said to me, take good care of my grandson.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And then Ben woke me up. And I looked at the clock for some reason, and he said, hey, my mom just called, and my grandfather passed away just a few minutes ago.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I saw him. He came to me. And and so it was crazy. It was at the exact time that I had that dream.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So,
but it reminds me of, the reason why I'm bringing this up is it reminds me of some of the things that you went through while you were under. It's almost the same, like a dream state, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's the thing. And so I do feel like when people cross over, I've heard this so many times before, like bringing messages before they do, and you were probably so more open to that. Like, I mean, we've discussed this stuff before. I mean, I think you
Yeah.
were gifted, like you have it, and so I feel like spirits are kind of drawn to who is open to those type of messages. And so I
Right.
think in that moment, he knew he could get through to you. Like, he
Yeah.
may not have been able to get through to Ben, or maybe that message he was just like, I need to, tell James, because especially if it was
He was
during
there at the wedding.
what
Yeah.
exactly.
It was
Yes.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
maybe that was something that he wanted to talk to you more about,
Yeah.
at the time. And so
Yeah.
I think that's incredible. I
But
think
it was like at the minute. I mean, it was like the minute. It was just crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Very cool. Yeah. So I think you should definitely, we got to figure out a way for we need to get you connected with Dr. Kimberly.
I know.
We're going to
Yeah. It scares me though, because I already do this, on my own. Like it scares me to go deeper, because I wake myself up like before it gets too intense, in my sleep.
That's exactly what she said. Like, your mind will only take in what it can handle. And you're only going to see what you are ready to see. I mean, I think that's why I didn't completely like see what happened when I got into, the spaceship that I was in, just, headed toward it. But I knew in that moment, I knew, and I could see the faces of what was up there very clearly. But I bet, like, whatever ended up happening up there, like, I wasn't mentally prepared
right.
to see the whole thing. So I think that probably happens with dreaming too. Like, you can only, and obviously we dream and we have things that upset us, but sometimes I think your brain is like, nope, I'm gonna cut you out there. Like, it's just too much, not today. So that easily could be what's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, the parallels, just the way you said you felt different right before, it reminded me of how I can almost tell when one of those dreams is going to happen, because I can feel it. I can feel it before I go to sleep.
Yes.
And it hasn't happened in a while.
Okay.
But I've also been just go, go, go. I haven't really taken the time, to just tap into those things, because I've just filled my plate so full. So I don't know. Yeah.
I think it's possible to be so tired, like you just can't. And you do so much that you probably, when you are ready for bed, boom, you're probably like, nope, I only have time for sleep tonight.
Right.
Kind of thing. Not happening.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something what I find so interesting too is that you can remember them so well.
Oh yeah. They're very vivid. Like they're I guess lucid, because I feel like I'm there, So
that's incredible. Now, have you ever had any experience with like astral projection?
Okay, so
I don't know. Like I wasn't. This is like I'm putting Jamie on the spot right now. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Well, when I was in high school, it was weird. I remember feeling kind of off that day, but not like I was sick or anything, just different. And I was in the gym. It was like PE class. It wasn't, I played basketball, but it wasn't basketball practice. We were just kind of like shooting, the ball, but kind of just, I remember I was talking to a group of girls, and then I started feeling a little off. And then the next thing I know, there was a balcony that it was like, we had our dances and stuff up there. So it was this big area that was like the upstairs, but you could look over and see the courts, the basketball courts. Right.
Yep.
The next thing I know, I am watching myself talk to these girls on the basketball court. Like, I was not in my body. I was looking down and I could see myself talking.
Okay.
And it happened pretty fast, but long enough for me to recognize that I could see myself.
Yep.
And then after that, I remember kind of coming to on the court, and I'm like, I gotta go lay down. And I went to the dressing room and I slept like for the rest of the class.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
I've had
incredible.
things like that happen
Yes.
to me before. So
Yes. Yeah. Now I have too. Nothing that is so surprising to me because that was so like in the middle of a conversation. This happened.
oh yeah.
Right? Yeah. I
Yeah, it
mean,
was yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I do remember feeling a little off, but it wasn't like I passed out.
Yeah.
Everything kept going and
Right.
I could see it keep going,
Right.
but I wasn't there for it. I could
Right.
see myself. It was
I mean,
weird.
like, what the heck is that? So, for those who, I mean,
Yeah.
don't know astral projection, it is exactly kind of like what um, Jamie has said. It is a moment where you are outside your body, and a lot of times people experience seeing their body, but they're able to move different places, and not even necessarily in the area where you're at. Like you can travel to anywhere, pretty much, but
Yeah.
it's if you have left your body and are looking around. And yes, so as a toddler, again, like last week, we were kind of talking about
Mhm.
experiences of seeing when I was seeing spirits as a young girl. Yes, I could also astral project as a kid, and it was something I had forgotten about. I was like, I just, a lot of that stuff I just kind of kicked out of my mind,
Me
like
too. Yeah.
because it's like just forget it, move on. You're imagining things, but you begin to remember some stuff, and you're like, man,
Mhm.
it's real, like it happened to you. And I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't remember a lot of detail of where I went, but I do remember myself, and it would usually be at nighttime. Once again, people could blow it off as a dream, but I feel very differently that it wasn't. This was
Yeah.
actually like I'm hovering over my own body and moving about the house, and not inside myself, which is really interesting. And then you just kind of go back. You're just kind of in it. And I've
Yeah.
never experienced it as an adult or anything like that. But it's happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I will never forget. I've told people about that
Hmm.
before.
Okay.
Um, and I get mixed
Sure.
responses,
Sure. Sure.
yeah. Yeah. But I'm telling you, it was crazy. And I was in the distance made sense. I knew where I was. I knew I was in the balcony looking down at myself. But it didn't scare me or
Yeah.
anything. It was
Mhm.
just like, oh, look what I'm doing. I'm looking at
Yes.
myself talk,
Right. Right.
But I've had a lot of it, and it was a very similar feeling to when I have the dreams where I feel like,
Wow.
I'm traveling. It's just something. It's like a little bit tingly.
Yeah.
My mind is firing in a different way. I don't know how to explain it.
Yes. I mean,
But
I know exactly the sensation you're talking about. Yeah. And I'm
yeah,
sure our listeners may have
yeah,
experienced that as well too. Yeah.
right.
They may know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
it's a different feeling. You're not here.
yeah. But that was the only time I really remember it happening when I was awake,
Okay.
was that one experience, but it
Yeah.
was profound,
Yeah,
so
yeah, absolutely. That sounds like it too. Yeah,
yeah,
I believe it. I don't understand it. I
me
don't know
either.
why does it happen? Why does it happen when it does? Because what a strange
It was
time
random.
to.
Why then? What
Yes.
was
Yeah.
significant about that moment,
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. So who knows? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's something we research more. I would love to hear people's theories on astral projection
me
and
too.
why it happens. Why does it happen when it does? Can you control it? I think there is a theory that you can really focus and you are completely able to do it when you want to do it.
Yeah.
I feel like when it comes to anything I can do, ability wise, I have zero control over it. The things that I come up with or think or have happen are so random,
Yeah.
that that's one of the reasons I started going to mediumship classes. I had gone to see a medium last summer, I think it was. It was just like a room reading. And he had said to me, you have this ability too, right? And I was like, well, yeah, I kind of think I do, but I don't know. I'm like, I don't have any control. And he's like, well, you're not supposed to have control. But I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, you have control right now. You're standing in front of us and you're able to go down the line and tell everybody a little something about themselves.
Right. Yeah.
I don't feel like I can do that. I don't think.
Right.
I not really practice much on my own. I get nervous practicing by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I do go to, we have like what they call mediumship circles. And we have someone who is an experienced medium who kind of leads that. And we kind of go into everyone, sees things a different way. I know when I started doing that, when I started those classes, I thought, I'm not going to get a thing. This is what I worried about in my past life class. I was like, I'm not going to get a thing. This is just the thoughts I have are random. The knowing I have is completely random. And I told them, what I tell people is like, so I've experienced a lot of I think I've had experience with all the clairvoyance, clairsentience, like smell, seeing things, hearing things. And I always joke about this one particular, like hearing, as a teenager, like my mom and I were getting ready to move and we had looked at different houses and we had gone to, there was one house we were sure this is the house we were going to buy. And that was it. But the realtor had called and said, well, we've got this other one. If you guys want to just come take a look. So we took a look at this house and I was in the backyard looking around and I clearly heard, this is your new home. Ooh. And that was one of the first things I really experienced like that. And sure enough, that was the house my mom ended up buying and lived in, until she passed. And so that happened. But then I joke because I hear things that are completely random and kind of dumb that mean nothing, that are not like these huge moments, right? Everyone thinks you hear these huge moments.
No.
So I was, because I do have an eBay store. So I'm always looking for things that I can resell. And I was looking at some t-shirts, like I'm always looking for concert t-shirts. And so I'm going through, I'm looking at all the shirts and I find one and I'm looking at it and I hear clearly, check the armpits.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay. And sure enough, there was a giant hole in one of the armpits.
That is so funny.
Like how?
But it's random. I know. I get it. Yeah.
Nothing profound about that at all.
No.
Like I'm not going to be able to save the world with anything that I can do. But I have, and I told my mediumship, like, I guess teacher, if you will, I told her this story and she said, most of the time are going to be check the armpit moments. So
yeah, no, it's true. Yep.
So yes, but yeah, so, the mediumship circles have helped a lot. I do, I started seeing things immediately once we kind of got into that, also random, but they were, that, I was able to get a lot of what I was seeing validated by my classmates, like who were there with me. So I've seen a classmate's dog who crossed over and it was hard because I could see the dog and I'm like, I know this breed. What is this breed? And I'm like, what is it? What is it? And finally I couldn't even figure it out in class. I had to go home and I'm looking up this dog and it was like a Australian Shepherd. So the next class I went and I was like, this is the dog, an Australian Shepherd. And one of my classmates was like, oh, that's my dog. My dog that passed away. Like he was such a good dog. And that's so cool. That was really cool. Yeah. And so I've been validated by a lot of the things that I've seen. So mostly when I do my thing, I can feel, it's usually people are trying to tell me how they passed. So they will make me feel whatever happened to them. So I've had head pain, chest pain, because I know someone, their dad had a heart attack and I had back pain for a moment. And they said, well, he had been complaining of back pain all day.
Wow.
And then he had a heart attack. So I could feel that. One time our instructor for class, it was right after the flooding in this past year in Florida and in the Carolinas. And she said, what if we try bringing in maybe some of the people who passed away during that time? And boy, oh boy, that was the first time I really struggled with all of it.
Yeah.
Because the things that I was seeing and feeling
Yeah.
were very difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
I had the sensation of drowning, which
Yeah.
was very scary in that
That
moment.
is scary.
I
Yeah.
could actually, it's like I could physically feel water like coming up my throat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was getting visions of the probably what was some of the last things people were seeing.
Oh,
I mean, so
oh,
people in their homes, like
yeah.
their light fixtures just
Yeah.
swaying back and forth. So like I was getting visions of things like that, and that's all like a picture. And so there's like a group of us, like all my classmates, and we're getting this stuff, and it's hard because you can't necessarily validate it,
No.
but it was felt very, very
Yeah.
real, and I had
Yeah.
not experienced that before. Um,
Right.
and
That-
yeah,
yeah. So
you know,
with my dreams, especially the one that stands out the most was the boy. I felt like I was being called to help, and it destroyed me. When I
yeah,
woke up,
yeah,
I couldn't stop crying.
yeah,
I just, it was like I was there and
yeah,
experiencing this with him, and felt all of the fear and emotions, and all of that. And but what do I do with it? See,
I
that's
know,
like, what do I
right,
do with these things? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
And
that's the
I
thing.
experience sleep paralysis sometimes,
Oh gosh,
where
yes,
where I'm dreaming and I know something horrible is happening,
mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to wake myself up, and I can't. My
Yeah,
mind's awake. I can't move. I can't move my arms. I can't scream. Like, I'll try
yeah,
to scream and I can't scream. That
yes,
that has happened to me multiple times,
yes.
like for years and years. Yeah.
Yes, I did the same. I was
Oh,
the same pretty much from childhood to into my 20s.
yep.
And then something happened around that time, and I haven't experienced it since then.
It's
But
been
it
it's
is,
been a few years for me
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
It truly is a horrifying
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
failing because you can't
Yeah.
move and you want to
No.
move, you want to wake up.
Scream.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's
It's
freaky.
yep. It's that's so
Yeah.
wild that you experienced that too. That's
Yes. Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I would love to do a whole show on sleep paralysis. And
Yeah.
have you heard like it's certain things that people have seen during sleep paralysis? The Hat Man is a big one that people have experienced.
Yeah. The Umbrella Man, the Hat Man,
Yes.
the Umbrella Man. Like,
Yeah.
I see the same person, and I know what's happening. It's
Hmm.
just it's
Yes.
so creepy. Yep.
Yes. And there's got to be something to it because there are
Yep.
people all over the world experiencing the very same
Yeah.
thing. People who don't even know each other. Like, what is
Right.
that phenomenon?
Yeah.
It's wild. So yes, I would love to do a whole show.
Yeah. I think this is hilarious. I love the way this episode went. We had plans to talk about some local cryptids, but this is great. I think it's good to share our own our own personal experiences,
Yeah,
and people get to know us a little better and why we're
for
doing
sure.
what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. We totally did not. We literally had a full other show
Yeah.
planned out for everybody.
This
And
is great though.
we'll save it for next week.
We'll save it for
Um
next week. That's
yeah.
right. And
Yeah,
we
but this
we
was
may
cool.
have it may work out great. We may have a special guest that knows a little bit more about some of the local cryptid
Cool.
legends.
Yes,
So
yes, which is awesome.
maybe it was for a reason that we.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, right? Everything
Yeah,
happens for a reason.
I know. I feel like I was jumping because I was not prepared to talk about this, but
Yes.
it is. You just never know
Yeah, you never know
the way
what's
things work out.
yeah,
So.
that's the fun part about the Unexplained Archives. We're
That's
just
right.
let it all. You never know what you're gonna get.
That's right.
But
That's
it's
so
true
cool.
though. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I think it's a big reason why you and I like came together, right? Like how we got to know each other
Yeah.
and we're like, this is what we kind of want to be doing. So I think it's
I
cool. I
know.
love that we're like sharing personal experiences
Yeah.
and then we get to hear other people's
Right.
and
I
and the
would
whole
love to hear other people. If you
yeah,
guys tell us we're not the only ones that can do astral projection and
right.
lucid dreaming and
Yeah.
visit our other lives. Like,
Yeah.
let's hear
Yeah.
from you.
Yeah, I do want to hear from other people because I think it would be fascinating because I want to see what the differences are. I want to see what the similarities are.
Yeah.
because it's just absolutely fascinating. So yes,
It is.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you can email your stories. Our email address is the Unexplained Archives 2025 at gmail.com. And be sure to check our social media. We always have fun stuff. Our social media director Sarah is always finding like super fun little fun facts about things that we talk about, and she's like, "Oh, I got something for that!" Like,
Yeah.
she puts it up. And we always have like our, always something that kind of goes along with our stories we talk about. So be sure to check us out on Facebook at the Unexplained Archives, right there on Facebook, and our Instagram for sure, because we're always posting pictures daily of fun things. And
Yes.
you can find us at Unexplained Archives 25 on Insta. So yeah, and we're working on a TikTok too.
Yeah.
So we're working on it. Like
We're
that's
going to be everywhere.
yeah. There we go. There we are.
Yeah. Well, this was really fun and unexpected. Yeah, it was really.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I loved hearing your experience and
Good.
somehow.
Yeah, and yours too. Like these were new stories for me today, so that's awesome. That's
and
really
I kept thinking of more. Like I guess some of the stuff like I just hadn't thought about in a while until we started this podcast.
Yes.
And I mean, I haven't talked about my imaginary friend yet as a kid, or the demons my dad saw, and there's a lot there.
We got more stuff. We got more stuff for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So make sure, we would love for you to like and subscribe if you are watching us on YouTube. If you're listening to us on Spotify, we would also love a follow on there as well. That helps us out big time.
Yes.
Yeah, and that way we can bring you more stories each and every week.
Yes. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
Yep. Bye.
All right, bye.